Hello. So I'm just sitting here after a little lovely rain and some thunder. It didn't feel quite like a thunderstorm, but close enough. And this idea of clearing out, purging, purification has been especially potent the last 2 weeks, I would say. So perhaps whenever you're finding this, you may be in the midst of this yourself and or about to enter or just coming out of it. Another theme that's been coming forth personally, and I feel perhaps collectively as well, which inspired me to push record. These seemingly internal conflicts, and when I said seemingly insignificant, would you hear that thunder all of a sudden? It hasn't thundered in a little while. Inner conflicts. And when I say insignificant, what I mean is not realizing how much they may be driving your delivery, your expression, your decisions. And so, yeah, I've really been taking the time the last 2 weeks or so to sit and flush out conflicts that, now my stomach is gargling. Is that the right word? I also started gargling water to activate the vagus, the vagus nerve, which apparently can help if you're having bloating. If you gargle a specific way, if you make sure that it's loud and you're really putting your oomph into it. That was just a side note. Anyway, maybe some of you are already doing this, but maybe some of you are doing it but don't know why, I don't know, that was just coming through. Anyway, here we go again. As soon as I swear almost every time I tune into the YouTube collective, my throat is extra low. It's so fascinating. I think it just started raining again, actually. Okay, anyway, so yeah, these subconscious drivers connected to slight inner conflicts. And one of these inner conflicts is using and utilizing AI or Gemini. And I've been using it in a way personally where I actually wrote about it. I think it was my very first Substack article about my relationship to it and why I started using it. And everything that I use it for in writing, any writings, I put at the end in brackets. I think I write something edited and structured by Gem, because I call Gemini Gem, aka Gemini. And I just felt this nudge to record what I was just hashing out, because there's definitely this little part of me every time I publish something, or I just put out a new offering on Patreon. And generally the way that I work with Gem, aka Gemini, is that I'll write stream of consciousness, all of my ideas, my writings, and then I say, it edits and structures according to the format that I'm using. And then I edit that to make sure, I put in the words and everything that feels good to me. I still edit it multiple times, let's say that. I go through these different drafting processes. Sometimes they say both. How do you say that word? Process? Isn't it Canadian to say process? Anyway. But yeah, there's been this slight internal, almost just something sitting on me. When you realize that you're not fully expressing yourself because of, again, these internal subconscious drivers or internal conflicts. That's kind of what this was. I was very resistant to using AI for a long time. And then when I finally started using it, I've really been making sure that I'm using it in my highest integrity and in the way that works for me without rushing and just taking it slow. And as we know, AI is prone to sycophancy and overly agreeing with you. And that's something for me to be extremely mindful of. So I do my best to work within that and continue to make sure I give as much information, as much information as I can, et cetera, and tell it that I don't want it to do that, just different things. Anyway, and I'm also someone personally who's not claiming to be an author, or a writer. I call them transmissions because I will get, and some of you can maybe relate to this, so many visions, ideas, flashes of information, somatic responses, and for such a long time I would write all this stuff down and then record it like I'm doing now. Before I started content, I would record it just to practice vocal transmissions. And by the time I would go to sit down and flush everything out, I would be getting so many ideas that I would never finish anything because it was such a great problem to have, right? I love that I'm someone who can come up with all these ideas. It's something, it's one of my favorite things to do and to tune in, and receive. But I was receiving so much that my output was really backed up and it was affecting me in a lot of ways, to be honest. And, I decided at a point that working with AI, especially as a one person, anyone who has whether you're creating content or whatever it is that you do, if you're a one person running a household, running a small business, whatever it is, there's a lot of things to be done. And I have gotten so much more done utilizing AI and actually started finishing things. And so back to being someone who releases transmissions through my voice, through recording audio transmissions, now through writing. So yeah, I'm not claiming to be an author per se, but I do want the transmissions that, when I feel that I want to express them and share them, AI has really helped me do that. And everything is always comes from me. I don't I don't ask it to come up with things. It's all my own stream of consciousness. Anyway, so I'm sharing this because, yeah, again, even if it's not AI, that's just the strongest example that came through. There's also something about expression. It's a lot about expression, but of course not limited to. Dancing and singing is something I've loved to do since I was a very, very small child. Maybe I feel a lot of us do. It's a part of culture, so many different cultures to express yourself through song, through word, through dance, through movement. And, along the way, there have been a lot of experiences that sort of stuck with me that were not so positive when I was expressing myself. And I still feel them, when I'm singing and I developed stage fright and all these different things. So I'm obviously working through that now. And excuse me, I just realized this week how a few of those memories, although they were still present, it's amazing how they happened years ago, but they still are in the back of my mind. And of course I'm working through it and doing it anyway, but I was just realizing how much it was still there. So yeah, I'm sharing this because again, I feel there's this collective window portal of the next layer of release when it comes to these inner conflicts and subconscious drivers. There's the two phrases that are coming through the strongest. I'm full transparency, working with AI, for example. I don't want to have to feel guilty or shameful every time I write something. I love what I'm doing. I love the way I'm doing it. I love my process. I get to be creative. I get to flush out every single thing that's coming to me as fast as I want to, and then have it all be organized. We have so many different like abilities that we can develop. And for me, like I said, the ideas and fleshing everything out and stream of consciousness come so naturally to me. But then like I did editing. I used to be a stenographer, and I edited so many transcripts and so many writings that like I honestly I didn't enjoy doing it then, and I don't enjoy doing it now. And of course, yes, I'm still editing, but like having AI assist it's literally like life-changing for me. And like, even though I'm someone who loves to do things very back to basics in a lot of ways and honor the organic rhythm of things, like we do live at a point right now where we have certain tools available to us, and I didn't want to demonize AI anymore. Instead I wanted to, for right now, it's working for me, and I don't want to have to feel shameful about that. Of course, if I was like pretending that I wasn't using it and like not being transparent about it, I could see that being an issue, but I mean, I'm not. So anyway, I really just wanted to bring this up because these releases that are happening, I can feel the difference in my body as well. And like, it's just so amazing how much we store in our bodies, And I think for a lot of us who are on the precipice of this upgraded, crystalline geometry consciousness and integrating that within our own layers of the subtle bodies of our physical body, our layers of consciousness, the plasmic fields, tapping into the morphogenetic fields, it feels like a collective of us are about to like, I'm seeing someone do like the shuffle. I forget what that's called, like a dance, the shuffle. Like we're about to step into that next level of co-creation. And however that manifests for each of us may be different, but from this collective wave that I'm picking up on. So it's like this flush of subconscious drivers and inner conflicts that feel like they've been mostly worked through. Again, this like next layer, depending where you're at with it personally, of course, is really coming up. It's like I'm seeing someone wring out a sponge, like really wringing out something. So, actually, all early afternoon today, I was working on my 4th key in the Oraculous lineage series, which is like the Rose Ray and the Balkans lineages. And as I was like fleshing everything out and seeing it all written on the Substack page, I haven't published it yet. And next I will record the YouTube portion and then the Patreon overflow guided astral journey. But I just felt like this piece needed to be released before I continue, because I could just feel it in the collective. Like, it's actually so synchronistic that it started like literally as I was finishing the first round of edits and the first draft for the article. I'm talking like as soon as I put my computer down, it started like pouring rain. I was like, yeah, that feels very synchronistic. So, and then of course when I started recording here, it started raining right after. So yeah, there's definitely this purification in the collective and release these releases. I also just felt like a wave of energy roll through where like the root and the sacral meet. That very like raw sexual creation sort of primal energy, but also like very watery and delicate and feminine, like simultaneously coming together. I was not expecting that, so woo! There's also 2 songs that have been in my head. One was last night, and the other one just came in like the last 2 hours maybe. The one last night, oh, I have it written down, hold on. Jeffrey Osborne, Stay With Me. And it was so interesting how the song came in, because it was like, I could hear the voice. It's a song that I haven't heard in a really long time. I think it's from the 80s maybe. But his voice is so distinct to me, and I could hear the voice, and I was like, what song is this? And it was, how do I explain this? It was almost like, as it was coming into my field, I could like, it came in and so slowly. It's like first I heard the voice, and I could hear his voice like so clearly. and like the words were like floating around, but I couldn't quite ground them. And then all of a sudden I was like kind of driving myself a little like, what is it? And then I was like, nope, I'm just gonna let it go. It's fine. I don't know what I did. I like got up, did something, and then I sat down, completely forgot about it, and boom, the song just came in, and I was like, that's it. So I actually listened to it this morning, and I don't think I've ever seen the video. The video was hilarious, by the way, in case anyone's ever seen the video or does watch the video. I don't know, it was just like so 80s and so funny and so random. And then today, I also have not heard the song in ages, but it's been playing in my head. Taylor Swift. I'm not like a big Taylor Swift person. I don't listen to her that often, but Love Story was just like playing in my mind over and over again. And as soon as I felt that wave come in that I was talking about, that song popped in again. Stay with me tonight. So, it's all right. Baby, stay with me tonight. That's the song. Excuse my singing. But the this dream that I had actually quite a long time ago, like was it maybe 2 years ago, a year ago, was like the collective masculine, if you will, inviting the collective feminine after a very long time of not doing this to stay over. And I forgot about that dream. And it was so like gentle, and the feminine, it was so unexpected. Of course, I don't mean necessarily like man and woman, just the energies, dynamics of masculine and feminine. Anyway, so yeah, so I was flashed that dream when that song came in. So we can look at that literally, metaphorically, symbolically, and like metaphorically, something that's coming through is like the masculine energy as the anchor, the grounded, you know, like holding the space for that feminine. When I think of night, it's something about like, I'm seeing an owl, intuitive, like some of you may be like up later than usual, or maybe you're just like a night person in general. There's something about like the nighttime and the symbolism of nighttime. For some of you, it could be literal. Maybe like you're about to get an invitation to stay over somewhere or spend the night with someone. And, you know, always take it like where you're at. If you're already like doing that, then there could be like maybe a more safety or intimacy coming with that, you know. That took a direction I didn't expect. I could feel that message formulating for days now, but I wasn't expecting it to come in at this moment, is what I'm meaning to say. That song is so catchy. Okay, hold on. Also, there's been a lot of synchronicity this week around like utilizing a flower or something equivalent to a flower, a feather, a flower, as like a means of stimulating pleasure. Like someone who is so developed, especially like a feminine receiving, the like feminine energy or principle of receiving. Yeah, so like, remember that movie 40 Days and 40 Nights when I think it's Josh Hartnett. I could be wrong. God, I haven't thought about this in so long. Before this week, like uses a flower to like lightly evoke the senses. Yeah, so I've been seeing different references to that. So there's something about like the senses, sensitivities, like being able to sort of like receive pleasure in a way that has such a light, like there's such a lightness to doing that. And some people are like desensitized and may not be able to receive that. So yeah, there's something about this collective being very like honoring their sensitivities. Excuse me. Whew, that put a big release in honoring the senses. Also, the phrase Kundalini current has been coming through all week. The Kundalini current. And as soon as I said that, I almost like had to take a deep breath and I could feel it moving through the heart space. So it feels like there's this collective electrical, you know, like masculine electric current pulsing through the heart, the back of the heart, the high heart, kind of like the heart solar pathway. Also, I keep seeing references to Bali. So Bali could be significant for someone. And if it's not like the physical place, there's something about the the grids and the energetics that the grids hold, and some of the repeating similarities that seem to occur for a lot of people who are drawn to Bali. Also cliches. I feel like there's been a lot of cliches this week. I don't know why that word is coming through. There's like very cliche energy coming in. Also synchronicities around castles, like building your castle. Of course, there's literal castles, and then there's like the energetic internal landscape of like your internal. It's like I'm being shown like your castle frequency, like whatever that may look like for you. Even if it's a sand castle, like there's something about. Also, the song from Christina Aguilera and Pitbull, "Feel This Moment." I think the one like passage that was really sticking out to me, 21:12 on the timer, is Christina's part. "One day while my light is glowing, I'll be in my castle golden, but until the gates are open, I just want to feel this moment." Yeah, that, as soon as I said that, my left eye just started to like, I suddenly became aware of my left eye. There was almost like a pain that came in. But it more feels like a tension or a strain. Very interesting. Now I'm seeing like the mind's eye symbol in the cloud. I just looked up the clouds and I saw the third eye symbol. I'm also hearing Vishnu. Vishnu could be, some of you could be tuning into the Vishnu frequency. Vishnu can center on preservation, cosmic order, and the omnipresence of divine consciousness. In Hinduism, it's said that he's the preserver of the universe, responsible for maintaining balance, upholding moral duty, dharma, and ensuring the continuous flow of life and reality. His name translates, according to this, to, quote, "the all-pervading one," reflecting the belief that the divine exists within all things, transcending space, time, and substance. Did you just hear that bang? So, yoga nidra, or cosmic sleep, that could be something that some of you are practicing and or being called to practice. It's so funny because recently I saw a yoga nidra meditation pop up on my YouTube, and I did not click on it, but something was hear the thunder? Something was telling me like to bring that back into my practice. I was doing a lot of yoga nidra when I was in Seattle, so that was like maybe 3 months ago. It's something that I don't always do, but when I come back to it, it's like a warm hug. I don't know, my body really responds so well to it. Anyway, also oil pulling is coming through as well. Tongue scraping. Yeah, like really strong self-body care. Ojas or Ojas, however you say it. And that's been coming through quite a bit recently in transmissions. And I was speaking about this collective that I'm tuning into, like this wave of being on the precipice of this like next octave of co-creation and clearing this, purifying this next layer of subconscious drivers and inner conflicts. And there's also, of course, the other side of that when we just accept these parts of ourselves. It's not necessarily about like healing them out or clearing them, but like for me, it's just about adding awareness so I don't have these like slight irritations or irritants or like pullbacks in my expression, Anyway, so sitting with all of that, I had another dream this week actually where, I've been vividly dreaming and flushing them out and like saving the collective themes. And there's been a lot of, so actually I'm being drawn to a different dream first. Last night, I was in a big house and there were a lot of people there. And all of a sudden this guy decides to like take everyone hostage with a gun. And I happened to be right at the stairs, and I was somehow able, like I thought in my head, well, I can just sit here or I can try and get upstairs, and I knew there was a phone so I could call 911. Right? And like stairs in dreams especially can represent like that ascension or taking the higher road, looking at the bigger picture. And I was able to get up there, but every time I tried to use the phone to call 911, like something would happen, like my hands would like forget how to use the dials, or I couldn't hit the correct button, or someone would bump into me who was up there. And there was someone like in a state of panic. And I was doing my best to balance it all. And then it was like all of a sudden the sirens came and everyone was like freed. And it was like they were freed as this. It's like the sirens were not even like, oh, I just saw like smoke flew by my window. I don't know where that came from. I just saw an orb come in. Yeah, the sirens were just sort of like, almost like a manifestation of first the freedom came within, like as I walked up the steps, and then everyone and went through this process, and then everyone was free, you know? So it's like, and then the sirens came. So there's something about this like internal shift, you know? Also, the number 17 keeps coming up. There's so much coming through right now in terms of like the idea of detachment, balance with detachment, transcending duality, something connected to a mosquito metaphor. Like right now I have so many mosquitoes in my room, and the alternative would be to just keep my door shut, but I really like the fresh air. And they wake me up through all hours of the night, and I have so many bites right now. I look like I have a skin disease. But honestly, I've just been, like I was just talking to my next door neighbor, and they were kind of talking about how, maybe I won't go into that. I think the point is I could let it really ruin my day, but like I'm not. Yeah, I'm itchy. They're buzzing. I can see how annoying it could be. And I have my moments, but overall I've just been accepting it for the most part. Anyway, I'm sharing this because I think there's this idea that I was talking about, internal conflicts, subconscious drivers, irritants that may be around, and some of the teachings, you know, like in whether it's Hinduism or Buddhism or whatever teachings you want to reflect back to, this idea of accepting the material world for its duality, and everything is a part of it, right? Like Vishnu, the message of Vishnu that came through. So yeah, there's something really significant coming. And in the dream that I was speaking about, right before that, actually, maybe like 2 days before, like I said, there's been so many layers of coming through my dreams lately. And in this one dream that's standing out to me, it was really interesting because there was like a stark, speaking of duality, like contrast to all of the releasing that's been happening. And then there was this like glimpse into a version of myself that felt very close, and myself and the collective that I'm tuning into, where it's interesting because it came in through, it's so interesting. Okay, let me try and put it into words. So in the dream, speaking of omnipresence, I was there, and this happens quite a bit, where I'm there in consciousness, but not quite my physical body. And then as the dream progresses, I'll like merge into the body in that awareness. Not always. Sometimes I just stay in that omnipresence or that consciousness perspective. Anyway, so the singer Mariah Carey, it was like her at first. And when I was little, I like really loved her. So, take whoever, someone that maybe you like looked up to or liked. And if it's not a person, maybe it's just like a lifestyle. And then once it's like my consciousness then settled into that frequency, and then it was myself. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm trying to be Mariah Carey. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, sometimes our subconscious will conjure up something to give us that physical representation. And again, for example, like that lifestyle. Yeah. So what this feels like is coming in is like a lifestyle upgrade, and whatever that looks like for you, of course, will be special to each one of us or unique to each one of us. There may be overlap, and so anyway, in the dream, it was like all of these, I guess you could say like maybe desires or just like things that have been coming up. It was like I was actively living that. I was in a home that something that I've been daydreaming about for a very long time. There was like modern and elegance, just something that I really, things that I really love. And I was working with a team, which I like, in the dream was like, it was so like casual and natural though. And we were planning like some kind of, it was like I was able to plan, I think it was like, let's say 3 months ahead of time, where I was going to be visiting, and I was doing something. I don't know what I was doing in the dream, but I was like doing it with a purpose. Like I was, and when I say I, again, this is like the collective of us, like touring something, it will be different for everyone. So again, insert whatever that will be for you. Honestly, for myself, I'm not even sure. It was just like, and the countries that came up were for some reason France and England. It was like France, England, and then there were 2 more that were like on the schedule, but I couldn't see them yet. And I was like sitting there and brainstorming and enjoying like a beverage that I love and the view. And it was just like, it felt so casual and natural. Anyway, so it feels like this next collective lifestyle upgrade frequency is being distributed, essentially. Yeah. So if you're finding this when you're like maybe a little bit really in this subconscious driver identification, elimination, purification, alchemization, whatever you want to call it, and any inner conflicts, this is just here as like an invitation, a mirror back to you of what you're also doing. And I always say for ourselves and the collectives upon which we're connected, in all realms and all dimensions, so it is. So yeah, I wasn't expecting to record right now, but I could feel all of this just like bubbling. I've actually been using, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing this, a jezva. Some of you may be familiar with it, like a method of like a pot in the Balkans to make coffee, and to get like the foam, the cream on top from the coffee. And it's like, metaphorically, like that's what I'm being shown. I actually just made it a few hours ago, and I was like watching the bubbles slowly start to form, like the foam, and I could just like feel this this transmission like formulating. And I was actually going to save it for tomorrow, but then all of a sudden it was like ready, ready to be released. Okay, thank you. I just finished recording like a minute ago, and all of a sudden it's just storming outside, lightning and wind. Can you hear the rain? Woo! So yeah, I just wanted to come on because, oh my gosh, whoa, I just saw this lightning, like so crazy. Okay, I think that's all. I get to watch it from my balcony. Oh, here's a bird taking shelter.